never had a girl like you.
When we locked eyes, when you had, couldn't look away.
Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are subscribed, welcome back. If you're not, hopefully by the end of this video that will change and you will decide to press that button down below. First things first, happy Black History Month, guys. You already know we're lit this month. We might even do a giveaway this month because we have reached 1.5K subscribers, so make sure you're subscribed. But today we're going to be doing our budget with me for the first paycheck of February, and we are also going to be doing a Q&A portion as well. So as I go through my budget, I'm going to answer some of the questions that you guys have left me throughout the few weeks. If you notice the setup is a little different, that's because my iPad is shot, so I need to go get a new one. So this is what we're going to be using for a little while. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to move these to the side. These are a couple of my binders that I use for my cash stuffings. But the first thing we have is expenses, and you guys know that I split my rent in half. I pay a portion, which is $1,600 for our total of rent. So I don't like to take $1,600 out of one paycheck, so I try to split it up. So today I'm going to be doing $800 for rent. Verizon, we are not doing that this pay period. We're going to pay it for the next pay period. And car, we are going to do $470. That's my car payment. Planet Fitness is going to get $20, and for BGE we are not doing anything. So let me get my calculator. So that's going to be a total of $1,290. So then the next thing after that will be my cash envelopes, and that'll be the envelopes that I carry with me throughout the week. I carry them in my little binder, and these are like my gas, miscellaneous, groceries, dining, self-care, things like that. So it's stuff that I already have to spend money on, so I might as well budget for it. Before we get to that, let me answer one of these questions. So speaking of self-care, someone asked, I think it was Tara, she asked, what is one of my go-to self-care activities? That's a great question. I probably should have already prepared the answer since I saw this way ahead of time. But I would say like when I'm really like into doing self-care, which I try to do it every Sunday, but it just does not work out that way. My go-to self-care activity is taking care of my face, like my skincare. So I have like a whole routine for my skincare. I do basic stuff every single day, but going like, you know, deep into my skincare, that is probably my major or my go-to self-care activity. I do also like to take like bubble baths with wine and a movie. You know, those are like my fancy times of self-care. So I guess that answers that question. So for groceries, we're gonna do $200. Miscellaneous is going to get $50. Gas is going to get $60. Self-care will get $40, and eat out will be $60. So for these envelopes, I do split them in half because I am bi-weekly budgeter. So I'll do $100 for each week for groceries and so forth for the other categories. Self-care, I do $10 for each week, and I do $20 for like a sinking fund. So for example, today I went and got my nails done, and I have $30 in that envelope, 10 for the week and 20 for sinking funds. So I took that money and went and got my nails done. So I guess that's another self-care activity, is getting my nails done. So for groceries, someone asked, do I meal plan to save money on eating out? And the answer is absolutely yes. I always meal plan for my groceries, or I try to at least get like an overview of what kind of meals I want to make. So like this week, I knew I wanted to make stuffed bell peppers and broccoli cheddar soup. So I buy the ingredients for that, and then I buy like the other items that we always need, like juice, water, maybe snacks, stuff like that. But I always only go to the grocery store with my list. I try not to freestyle it or you know, go off the whim. I only go to the grocery store with a list. That way I'm not picking up things I don't need, and just buying whatever I see. So yes, I do definitely meal plan to try to keep my grocery list down, and also to try to prevent me from eating out. One of my easiest things to do is to buy but I always want to make sure I'm bringing lunches to work, right? So one of the easiest things I do when I go to the grocery store is I buy those ready-made salads at Walmart. Those are so easy. It may have a little bit of sodium. That's too little, too much. But anyway, they're so easy to do, and they're still like on the healthier end of, you know, lunches and food and whatnot. So that's that. 410 is going to be our total for our cash envelopes. So the next thing we're going to move to is our sinking funds. Not all of them are going to get stuffed, but we're going to stuff them according to priority and importance. So before we start on our sinking funds, one of the questions was what made me start YouTube. And I always loved watching YouTube, right? But I always felt like, oh man, I could easily do that, right? I could do this, I could do that. But I just never did it. And then when I got back into cash stuffing, I was like, oh, I can definitely do that. And I can definitely show people my journey. But my biggest reason for starting YouTube was the accountability, because I've started cash envelopes before. I've learned how to budget before. I just haven't stuck to it. So the longer that I do YouTube, the more that I'm accountable for my actions and for my budgeting, because I refuse to come to you guys and be like, hey y'all, yeah, so see what had happened was, remember those envelopes I stuffed? Yeah, I took them all out and I bought a purse. Like stuff like that. Now things that are unexpected and stuff that we cannot, you know, plan for, it happens. And you know, there's always going to be setbacks, there's always going to be challenges with budgeting, but just being plain out irresponsible YouTube has definitely helped me and prevented me from doing that. So that's one of the reasons why I started, or one of the main reasons why I started my YouTube channel. So for car, we are going to be doing $50. This is for our car maintenance fund. For our licenses, we're going to do $45. And this is for my career. If you guys don't know, I am a clinical pharmacist at a hospital. So one of the questions was, how long have I been a pharmacist, and have I wanted to do something else? So I graduated from pharmacy school in 2018. I then went into residency program for 1 year. I graduated that residency program in 2019. And from 2019 to today, 2022, I have been a active clinical pharmacist. So I've been in my current role for 2019 and 2020, so for 2 years plus. I've been in my current active role. Have I wanted to do something else? I mean, I do side hustles, so I've done what I wanted to do as far as like YouTube and Etsy and things like that. Like I've wanted to start those things, but as far as a complete career change, not necessarily. I don't really feel like, you know, there are many options for me as far as careers or interests, I would say. One of my dreams when I was younger was to own like a small boutique of clothes and things like that, or maybe be like a silent partner. That's not necessarily one of my dreams today. Could it happen, like me being a silent partner? I think so. Maybe one day once I get my money up. But other than that, no, I don't really have like dreams or wants or desires to do something else with my career. As for pets, they're going to get $25. And household is going to get $80. Again, we do have like HVAC cleaning and gutter cleaning that we have to do for our rental property. So, or the property that we rent. It's not our rental property, but we are responsible for those services. So I'm saving money up for that, because last year it did kind of catch me off guard, but not this year, sweetheart. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Not this year. For gifts, we're going to put $20. Hubby is not getting anything, but for vacation, we are going to put $200 because we do have Punta Cana coming up. Okay, for holidays, we are doing, let's see, $45. And medical, we're going to do $10. I do have an HSA card that I use for like medical purposes, and I do have insurance, but you never know with like co-pays and stuff like that. That's what this medical envelope is for. So let's get to another one of the questions. This question was from Crystal. She said, how do you center your mind and continue to live life with the virus that's going around? So if you don't know like the setting that I'm in, I work in a hospital. Obviously we have a lot of COVID patients. I find myself working in the ICU a lot. So I am pretty much in a setting where I am in the vicinity of very, very, very sick COVID patients. Do I go in their rooms? No, ma'am. Am I like in direct contact with COVID patients? No, ma'am. Do we have codes on COVID patients sometimes and things kind of get crazy? And yes, absolutely. So with that being said, I try to be as safe as possible, but I also know like I'm at the point where before, when the pandemic first happened, we were all like shut in the house, can't do anything. I actually had to postpone my wedding and kind of reschedule it for a later time during the pandemic. So I understand, when the times were more rough and we had to kind of stay in the house and quarantine and, be safe. Not that I'm not being safe now, but I am just at the point where like I'm going to have as much fun as safely as possible because at the end of the day, like we're 2 years into this right now. Luckily, knock on wood, I have not had a positive COVID test since this whole pandemic started. But I'm also always going to be safe. So if I go out with my friends or whatever, like I'm always trying to be safe, but I am still going to go out with my friends. So most of my friends are healthcare workers anyway. So our greatest risk is at work. So me going to Walmart or going to dinner, it to me is not my greatest risk. Like the sickest patients I have are those at work. So I have to go to work every day. Why can't I go out to dinner? That's just how I feel. I know some people may not agree, and that's perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. I completely understand. But there's also like, I'm going to be safe in whatever I do. I have to go get gas. I have to go get groceries. Like, so if I can go to a socially distanced dinner, I'm gonna go. Period. All right, so Wilson Babies is going to get $6. Car registration will get $2. Again, I don't have to renew my car registration until 2023. Amazon Prime will get $3, and our future home will get $10. Parents will get $40. I have a birthday and their anniversary coming up next month, so I want to make sure I'm prepared for that. Tech has been completely emptied out, guys. So we're really starting all over again. So we're going to start with $15. And Tanget is going to be our miscellaneous fund for things that we didn't necessarily prepare for or budget for. That's going to get $10. Family fun, speaking of, me having fun and going out living my life, that's going to get $20. And Sam's Club is going to get $10. So let's head to another question. So this question is also from Crystal. She said, in such a demanding career that I work in, how do I deal with burnout? If I have that at all. And I definitely do have burnout. There's times where I'm just like very exhausted. I've had to take some, mental health days, or sick days. And I'm at the point where, this is how I explain it to people. So I feel like personally, when the pandemic happened and everybody had to be in the house in quarantine, when it first happened, everybody was at home by themselves and they really realized like, hey, I have anxiety. Hey, I have depression. Like, I'm not feeling too hot right now. I personally didn't get a chance to feel that. So I still had to go to work. I still had to run errands and things like that. Like, I didn't have a time to sit at home and really think about my life. I didn't have a time to sit at home and pretty much realize like all the things that I was dealing. And this is when I say it gets real, right? So on top of whatever feelings that I've already been going through, right, personally, like we also had this pandemic where like so many people were dying, and I was still expected to come to work and perform at a high quality level, if not higher. And then, you know, on top of other things like falling down, adding on more responsibilities like YouTube and Etsy and meal prep, I literally had no time to just sit and think like, hey, Melissa, you have anxiety right now. So it got to a point where, like, for a long time, probably since pharmacy school, I noticed that I wasn't breathing sometimes. So sometimes when I take like a deep breath, people may think it's like, oh, she's annoyed, or like, are you bored or something? And I'm like, no, I just forgot to breathe. Like, I hold my breath and then I won't breathe until I absolutely have to. So I'm taking like like a deep breath because I forgot to breathe. So that has already been going on for a long time. And then recently, like in the past year, I've noticed that like chest pain has been associated with that. Like I feel like my heart is like beating at like 200 beats per minute, like super abnormally. And it's been going on like for time after time after time. And when episodes became more frequently, that's when I was like, hey, Melissa, you might have a little anxiety going on right now, because of all the projects I'm doing, because of all the stress at work, and because of all the personal things around me just piling up and not dealing with it, right? So not acknowledging, not having time to acknowledge it, refusing to acknowledge it, and just keep moving and moving and moving. So for me, if I have 10 Etsy orders and I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna relax, I'm not gonna work on those orders, like those 10 orders will haunt me until they're done. Like I am the type of person, I am task oriented. I like to get things done. I can work on it for 2 hours, but if it's not done, I feel like I didn't do anything. So I got to that point, and then I went to the doctor, and she pretty much was like, yeah, you should probably try counseling. And I was like, you might be right, because nothing else is working and I'm not really taking time out. So I told y'all this is going to get real. That is how like I've begun to start dealing with it, because for a while I just kind of ignored it and I didn't really realize, or didn't have a chance or time to realize that there was an issue. Now that I have that time, and now that I'm being forced to physically, like my body is physically reacting to anxiety, now I don't have a choice but to acknowledge it and go to counseling and try to like figure out ways to deal with things like high demands at work, or things like death, things like personal issues, and things like YouTube responsibilities and Etsy's and all kinds of side hustle responsibilities. So it's crazy for people who work in like the healthcare field, or any like other, like maybe like the army or military and stuff. It's really abnormal of how many people we see die in front of our face, right? Like just the fact that you see countless of people literally die a feet or 2 feet away from you is so crazy. It's life, yes, but internalizing that and dealing with that is very difficult. And anybody will tell you that they've either had to learn how to deal with it, they've dissociated away from it, or they just don't bother, they just trying to ignore it or something. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Crystal. So the next one we have is going to be savings. We're going to put $100 in there, and emergency fund is going to get $50 also. Business is not getting anything. That comes from my Etsy and YouTube and whatever. Weddings is going to get $55. We have some payments that are going to be coming up soon. And after that, my Melissa envelope, which is mostly for my 30th birthday, is going to get $12. So let's go ahead and add this up, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so when we come back, we should be stuffing $808, and that will be a total of a total of $1,218 that we'll be stuffing at the end of the week. I think the last question was, do I budget with my partner separately or together? And we kind of just split our bills, like, or we divide the bills and we say, okay, I'm going to pay these bills and you'll pay these bills. And then we just budget our money separately. So all the money that I stuff is all of my cash. I don't incorporate his money into any of my budgeting. He just pays his portion of the bills, I pay mine, and then we save our money accordingly. So hopefully that answered all of your questions. Thank you guys so much for these questions. I really do appreciate them. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask, and I could do a part 2 if I have enough questions. But if you have not subscribed by now, go ahead and press that button. It really helps out my channel. But until next time, guys, bye-bye.
There's something about you, but can't put it in name. So promise, girl, give me one chance if you feeling the same. I said